I hate luck in board games. The cards add an element of luck, which I hate.
Hello and welcome. You may have noticed something is a little different today. We're joined by a very special guest, my wife, Rachael Ray.
Hey everybody, thank you for watching. I'm really excited to be a part of this week's video.
And we're excited to have you. Alright, we guys, please let Rachael feel welcome in the chat. I thought it'd be fun to have her on today because we'll be responding to some of the YouTube comments and she's going to help read them out. So let's get into today's video. If you're new here, my name is Julian, and on this channel I document my journey in creating the ultimate strategy board game, Pincer, A Gentleman's War. In this game, you'll expand your empire by building colonies, managing resources, and facing your opponents on the battlefield. Head over to my website, playtesting.com, where you can subscribe to my newsletter and get alerted once playtesting is available. playpincer.com. So Rachel's actually a huge fan of Pincer. She loves playing it all the time, isn't that right?
All the time. I love spending our every Saturday afternoon just playtesting, hours after hours after hours of playtesting.
No.
And the rules keep changing, so that is also the fun part.
Right. That's how I stay on top. Once she gets the hang of it, I change the rules, so I can always beat her.
Yes, it's very hard to beat someone as they're changing the rules of their own board game.
Rachel's been great. I couldn't have gotten this far with the game without her help because she's the one that I'm constantly bouncing ideas off of in playtesting. But I think I can speak for you when I say that you're probably excited I started the YouTube channel because now I have all of you all to bounce ideas off of. And you all give some great ideas, and I wish I had more time to respond to the comments each week, but that's what we're going to do today. I've picked out a few of the comments that I've noticed people ask pretty regularly. We have some serious ones, we have some funny ones, we have some strongly worded ones, which are pretty funny.
Yeah.
So let's get into the first one.
All right, I'm going to try my best at saying the username. Faradalin 966.
All right.
Here's an idea. Each player start the game with 5 victory points. You gain more victory points or decrease other players' victory points by controlling the key areas in the map. There's like 5 of them. One can be near each player's starting tile, but other can be all over the map. When you have a colony in this key area, you have 2 options. You have to use resource for them. 1, increase your victory point by 1, or 2, decrease your enemy's victory point by 1. And if you have a fort in that area, you can do both, or the value goes up from 1 to 2. Now you can have 2 victory conditions, reach a certain number in victory points to win, or decrease other players' victory points to 0.
Cool. Actually, I think that's a pretty clever idea. I like that a lot. I think right now, for the sake of playtesting in the Tabletop Simulator, I'm going to stick with the domination victory, where you need to conquer 2/3 or maybe 3/4 of the board in order to win. But I think we'll definitely add more rulebooks with alternative victory conditions to playtest, because that's obviously the point of this. We want to test out multiple victory conditions and find the funnest one. I think that idea is really cool though, where you can win 2 ways. You can either steal victory points from your opponent, or you can create victory points on your own. It's a cool concept. So, great question.
Again, try my best on the username. RTMantonito 4900. What about infantry being able to make trenches and thus defend themselves from other infantry or cavalry, but not cannons?
That's a really cool concept. I really like that idea. One thing I always try to do when I'm incorporating a new rule is I'd like to have a physical representation of that new rule somehow on the board as best I can. Obviously not all rules can have physical representations, but that's one idea that I think would need some kind of physical representation on the board to know which units are entrenched or not. Maybe some kind of, I don't know, piece that you would just put in the tile of the entrenched unit. That could be a really cool defensive tactic though, to be able to dig in. I'm trying to think of how that would affect the gameplay. Maybe it could be similar to when you siege a colony, you need to wait a whole turn before attacking, something like that. It's a cool concept. We can definitely think on that. I like that idea.
Next question is by So Dark. By the way, can you explain the game's name? Why is it called Pincer? What makes the game so gentlemanly feeling, theme, mechanic-wise?
There's a lot of reasons why. I think one of the main reasons is it's actually really hard to find a name that isn't already taken. There's so many games out there, and it's crazy. I mean, I would come up with an idea and think, wow, that's great. I'm going to name the game that. And then you look it up online and it's like, nope, that's already a game. Going back to when I first made the game, I kind of thought like, oh, the name will just kind of manifest as we play. You know, you'll move a piece and be like, oh, you got bamboozled, and then the game's name's bamboozled. That didn't happen too much. There wasn't really, you know, a time where I moved a piece and something like that happened. My uncle said we should name it Katisk, combining katana and risk into one word. I think that's hilarious. It could be kind of funny, but obviously I don't want to name the game that. But Pincer is actually a military maneuver where you flank your opponent from two sides. I think that's sort of what you do in this game. It's a great tactic in the game to pin your opponent on two sides, which I guess is a pincer move. It kind of stood out to me, and I think it's simple. It's just one word, pincer. And it's not technically taken for a game. There is a game company named Pincer, but it's not a specific game named Pincer. But to be safe, I added the tagline, "A Gentleman's War," onto it, just so that's the full name, and I know it's not taken by anyone. I like the tagline, "A Gentleman's War," because it's supposed to refer to the 18th century European wars, known as gentlemen's wars, where they would have strict rules of engagement, mutual respect for officers, even seasons of military campaigns, and I just thought that kind of fit the game really neat. That's actually a game, though, A Gentleman's War, so... But Pincer, A Gentleman's War is not taken, so that's what we're going with for now. If we find a cooler name, we could go with that, but I'm pretty happy with it right now. So thank you for the question.
All right, we have another comment from MyRonPlay8354. During playtesting, I'd like to try a version where every resource card is a maneuver card. This will create a really interesting trade-off dynamic, I think, where you can spend resources for a victory on the battlefield but lose the ability to build as many units. It might end up being too powerful of a snowball effect, but this might be countered by having certain cards or strategies that give the defense a significant edge, so that you need really overwhelming force to steal the deal.
Nice. I've had a few people comment that they would like to have all the resource cards contain the maneuvers. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of that, and let me explain why. I think it actually is the same as having no maneuvers in the game at all. You know, if you know with a 90% certainty that your opponent is going to have the maneuver corresponding with a certain resource, then that's basically the same as not having it at all, I think. I think they just cancel out. I think even when we've play tested, we only had 4 maneuver cards per resource pile, and that even felt like too many. I don't know, would you agree?
No, yeah, I would. I feel like the last time we play tested, as soon as I would attack one of your units, I just like knew you were already going to have a maneuver card.
Right.
And you did. So I felt like...
And same with me.
Yeah.
Anytime I attacked you, I was like, okay, she probably has the retreat maneuver, so let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah, as soon as I'd see you move a unit out of your colony to the...
lumber tile.
To the lumber tile. Yep. I was like, okay, he has an ambush card, and
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, in my head, these maneuver cards are supposed to be small bonuses that kind of take your opponent by surprise. If they know each time that you probably have one, then I think it kind of just drags the game out a little bit. I will say, though, in the Tabletop Simulator, we can have a version available where they all contain maneuvers, and I'm open to see how they work, so thank you for the comment.
All right, we have a comment from RoarCarrot1. It's very fun watching the development of this. I think it's headed in a great direction. I just can't shake the feeling that Pincer isn't the best name for the game. I don't think it conveys what the game is about, which is so important for marketing. Currently, the game's art has a Victorian or Revolutionary War style, and I feel the language from that era would do a much better job as a title. For example, Besieged, a gentleman's game, or Muskets and Mortars really sells what the game will be about, grand old-fashioned war.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to an extent. I think if I had to put it on a meter, I'm not 100% happy with the name Pincer. Maybe 80 to 85% satisfied with that. So I am open to a different name. Maybe I'll make a poll and see what people think or ask for suggestions. I'm curious if we look those up, if those are named already. They might be, but
Probably.
yeah. But I am open to a better name if one comes along. So give me your suggestions. Thank you.
All right, from Baladox. If a ship that has a military unit on it dies, would they both die?
Yes. If a ship is transporting a land unit and that ship is attacked by either a cannon or a frigate, the ship would die. To me, I just think that's fair. It also adds some excitement, in my opinion, because it makes it more risky to transport land units, which seems like a good balance, because you're going out to sea, you're, traversing the waters, so that's the risk that comes with it. And I don't see another way to do it. If the ship gets killed, but the units don't, I mean, they would just be on the water tile. The only other way would be the land unit gets killed, but not the ship. I don't really like that idea, though, just because I always talk about how I like the physical representation of it. So would the frigate go into that tile and share it with the opponent's frigate, and then you take... I just don't know how you could represent that on the board without just arbitrarily lifting a unit off. And I'm not a huge fan of that. That's the reason that the cannons attack and then move back. It's that physical representation of moving a unit and moving it back. So...
Right, from Aaron Rocks 365. As far as the loose tiles, have you considered making a border that connects like in Catan? It works well in Plunder, A Pirate's Life, too.
I have considered that. I think that'd be amazing, honestly. I mean, the only thing stopping me from doing that right now is I don't know how to go about doing that. I think that would be something that I would look into more when I actually publish the game with the manufacturer. But these tiles, I just order them online, and it's kind of like ordering a business card where there's already a set size and shape, and you just kind of put your design on it. And so that's the reason I can order these at a decent price. If I were to have a border around it, that'd probably be some kind of special machine or tool cutting that out, depending on the size of the board. So I think it'd be really cool to have that, but I just need to look into it. I will say, though, I was really worried about the tiles shifting around for a while, and I've noticed that in playtesting, they don't really move that much. Would you say?
Yeah, I would agree. We even played outside, and it was windy. And
Yeah, we played outside on a picnic table, and, well, it wasn't a wooden picnic. It was like a plastic picnic table, but it held up pretty good, and I've never had a problem with them moving significantly any more than any other board game would.
Yeah.
Of course, with any board game, you run the risk of the cat jumping up and knocking everything over, but that would happen with any board game. So, you just got to be gentle with it, a little careful, and it's really not that big an issue, I don't think. So we will look into the border, though.
All right, next comment is from ASDFUHF. I hate luck in board games. The cards add an element of luck, which I hate.
Fair enough. This comment's funny to me. There's been a few people comment that they hate the luck in board games, or in strategy board games. And I see what they're saying. I don't necessarily agree fully. I think a lot of games that we consider classic strategy games have a lot of elements of luck, Risk being, I think, the most obvious one. I think they might say that that's not actually a strategy board game, though. They'd say, like, chess is a pure strategy board game. I never really intended to make just a pure strategy board game. I know I say that my game is the ultimate strategy board game a lot, but maybe I'm misunderstanding what a strategy game is. I don't really think that's the case, though. As far as the maneuver cards go, though, I don't necessarily see them as just like this blind luck that I've put in the game. I view it more as bluffing / managed luck. And what I mean by managed luck is, yes, it's random if you draw one, but there's also ways to build your strategy around these cards. For example, if the resource bank is almost depleted and you contain all of the maneuver cards for that corresponding resource, you would know that your opponent is not in possession of those maneuver cards. So you could plan an attack with certainty that your opponent doesn't have them. In the reverse, if the bank is almost depleted and you don't have any of them, then you probably know that your opponent is in possession of one, So you might want to avoid certain tiles. But either way, you know the tiles that the maneuvers correspond with. So if you want to avoid an ambush, you need to avoid the lumber tile. I know you can't always do that, but what I love about the cards is they make you think about the terrain. And that's such a big part of the game, is the terrain. And it's such a big part of battles throughout history. You have to constantly be considering the terrain that your armies are navigating. And you're always susceptible to an ambush, which, you know, is kind of luck. It's kind of chance in a way. So to me, I think it's fair. I will say, if you absolutely hate the maneuver cards, one other thing I'll ask is, I wonder if he also hates the resource die, because, you know, that's chance to determine what you roll the die to see what resource is drawn, and maybe he hates that as well. I mean, you might have the same complaint, but I haven't had as many people complaining about the resource die being rolled to determine resources. So, and another good thing is, if you really dislike the maneuvers that much, you don't have to use them. You know, your house rules could be, we just don't use the maneuvers when we play. So thank you for the comment.
Okay, and our next comment is from Janovich.
And let's give a shout out to him real fast. If y'all don't know Janovich, he has an awesome YouTube channel. I think over 150,000 subscribers. He's got a pretty big channel over there. And so I'm honored that he would take the time to comment on ours. And so please give a shout out to him in the comments.
All right. So base game should not have players influence the terrain layout. Should be either randomized, systemized, or predetermined layout. Otherwise, people are already stressed out before the game even begins. Also, planning where water or mountain is makes no historical sense.
Nice. And he roasted me. Yep. No, I'm just playing. I know it's all in good faith. The first thing that stands out to me is he says that it would stress out players. Which I find interesting. I never thought of that or considered it, and I guess I'm curious the reason why he thinks it would stress players out. If you're listening to this, perhaps you could comment and let us know. But yeah, I just hadn't ever considered that. It's an interesting insight for sure. As far as the tiles being set up, I agree. I think it would be nice to have maybe a reference in the rule book to suggestions on how to set the tiles up, and maybe have different maps people could choose from. That might help people ease into the game some. And so I guess I can see what he means by stressing players out in that sense. I think one of the great things about tiles, though, is that you can kind of craft your own world out of them. And I think that's a part of the appeal for players, is to kind of make their own map to play on. But all I want to do is just kind of make a framework that makes sense for the game for people to make the map out of. So the biggest thing are water tiles having to touch and not being able to trap those in. To me, I think that's important, because the naval battles are a big part of the game, and it's not fun when, you know, you have one lonely water tile over here and you can't really interact with the rest of the players. But yeah, I think it would be good to have maybe a suggestion in the rule book of ways you can set up the tiles as a predetermined map. But thank you so much for the comment.
All right, comment from Turkisa Arksy. This is outrageous. I will dedicate my life to dissecting every detail of your game, from the naming to the theme, all the way to the game design. Everything will be subject to the strictest criticism. This gentlemanly act is very nice, but when I prove that every little thing is wrong with the game, you will not be so happy anymore.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Sounds like a threat. It's such a funny comment to me. I need to know why it's so outrageous. What am I doing that's so outrageous? I'm making a board game. I don't know. I think people may forget that I'm just a normal dude. Yeah. Like, we're just in our apartment right now. I'm just making a board game. I work a regular job. Yeah. I'm just a guy with a passion to make my board game. I need to know what's so outrageous about this. Is it something where he's outraged because he likes the idea of the board game, but he hates the execution? Or is it just outrageous to him that I'm even making this game at all? Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, it's kind of nice stirring up this emotion in people. I would rather stir up this emotion and then not, because that means people care about the game, you know? Yeah, it's nice having a strong reaction, I guess. But honestly, I welcome any creative criticism. If you have an idea, if you're listening to this and you have an idea that you think, if I'm missing some element that is just outrageous to you, please let me know, because I'd love to incorporate that in the game, make it even better. So that was an interesting comment. That was fun. All right. Anyways, that's all the questions we're going to get to today. Let us know if you enjoyed this format, and maybe we'll make another one. Did you have fun?
Oh, I had a lot of fun. I can't wait to be part of another video.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's quite okay with me. I think it'd be fun. Y'all can let us know if we had a
Little playtest.
a match between us.
Yeah. I'm gonna change the name of the game, Pincer, a ladies' war.
Oh, if you beat me, then you
It's on.
actually, I don't know if I want to commit to that.
Because that's why I'm not good. He
Right.
knows I'm not good.
Right. She actually is really good at strategy games. She won the game of Catan we played a few weeks ago with our friends, so she did.
Got the longest road. I was coming in
Yeah,
hot.
she did. That was a close game.
And I kind of did that, like, I feel like it was kind of behind the scenes. Like, nobody paid attention. I had the longest road, and then all of a sudden I
Yeah.
got my 10 points.
Yeah, I know. That's how it always seems. Well, no, I think we saw it coming. We realized at the end, we're like, oh man, Rachel, she's about to get the longest road card. We gotta try to stop her.
Yeah.
Because Joseph, our friend, he pulled out that Monopoly card and he took all the brick from you.
Yes.
And it delayed you any
I
longer.
just needed like a point or two, and it took me literally like 3 or 4 more rounds.
Oh, I know.
Playing.
I know.
Because of that one card.
I didn't think you were
played.
gonna win at that point.
I still did.
And she did. She's not to be underestimated.
I am very good at strategic board games.
All right. So let us know what you think. Maybe we'll do a play test together in the future. I think that could be fun.
Oh, I do too.
Well, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'm really excited to announce that if you become a channel member right now, you can get a first look into the Tabletop Simulator. I'll have a video over there for members only, and it'll be a lot of fun. I'm showing off the board, how things are going to work, and maybe I can get your input before it's released, which should be shortly. So stay tuned, sign up for the newsletter, get alerted when it comes out. Thank you for the support. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time,
Farewell.